He's coming directly from the Netherlands to the world today. And I'm talking about Frank van Heffen, who is the business intelligence translator for data and analytics at Rabobank. Frank is a master of information management with more than 15 years of experience in the field of process management, information management, analysis, and advice. The last 10 years, he has successfully brought the innovative process mining technique to the attention of the business community. As a business intelligence translator within Rabobank, he's responsible for implementing an organization-wide process mining capability. Frank, it's a real gift to have you with us. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom directly from the Netherlands to the world today.
Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me. So thanks for listening and taking the time to listen to well, my message that I want to share with you. So my name is Frank van Geffen, as Jose already introduced me. I'm a business intelligence translator for Rabobank. And I also have a very extensive background in process management and analysis and information management. I work at Rabobank. I just want to show you a bit about what we as a bank stand for. So we have this ambition of growing a better world together, and that's all about things like the food chain. So we have a large footprint in the agricultural sector, which a lot of customers are farmers, and it's our mission to use all the knowledge that we have of farming to help farmers grow a better world, but also because we finance a lot of the companies that, well, get the food on your plate. We also want to do a good job there to make it more sustainable for the future. A little bit about Rabobank. We're present all over the world, and so mainly focused on the agricultural businesses.
Frank,
so back to
my. You're sharing your presentation at this point. It's not showing yet. Just want to let you know that.
Sorry. Thank you for that. I hope it's okay now.
Yes, it is now. It's coming through now. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just slightly going back to. You can find Rabobank at rabobank.com. That's what I actually wanted to show you. And here you also find our slogan, what I just explained briefly. So we'll go back to the presentation. So if everyone is able to see, then I want to just touch upon a view on the world around us. I just had a very interesting session yesterday about the window theory. And also we talked a bit about the butterfly effect, and it all had to do with the topic I will also be talking about today, the value of information. But this window theory just focuses on the way you view the world. You can have like a window that is transparent and which you can look through, and you see what is able to see, but in the background there might be things you don't see immediately, but we experience it as transparent. The window theory actually states that when someone looks through the window, he also sees other things, like, for example, a curtain, which blurs a bit of the reality that's behind the curtain. And it's all about the ability to find information about what's actually behind the curtain. It's about having access to that information, which determines what you can and what you cannot see. It's also about not having too much information, of course. So information overload could also impede your vision, and it also might be influenced by laws and regulations. So the whole thing that I want to stress today, and the key takeaways that you can hopefully take with you after this presentation, is that information is not data, and that you should pay even as much attention to information management than you do to data management. And if we look at operations, of course, and we want to improve our processes and make them more efficient and effective, it's also good that we can make intelligent operational decisions. But how to get to that intelligent decision making? That's what I want to talk about today. And last but not least, I want to stress your view and stretch your consciousness on the fact that emotions and experience and trust are becoming even more important today in the world of algorithms, AI. And do we actually still trust the decisions that we or others make for us? And all has to do with the actual value of information. And if you look at how to define that, in general, it's actually the amount decision makers willing to pay for information prior to its decision. Okay, so let's go. I will touch upon some introductory concepts. I will explain in simple terms my view on the value of information. Then I will go into what actually is intelligence, how to decide based on intelligence, and we'll wrap up with the key takeaways again. I will make use of a practical example. I've devised an account manager called Frank, and we will see how his daily operational decisions are influenced by intelligence. Okay, so data is the new oil. We all have heard that. We need fact-driven insights, predictions based on facts to drive all our decisions. And data scientist is the most sexy job in the world at the moment, and they are very scarce, of course. But what about information? Is there anyone getting the right information from all this data? Are we actually making more fact-driven decisions, or are we just automating, well, tedious tasks to make quicker decisions? But do we actually know if they are the right decisions? Well, that can only be true if you have the right information at the point in time you make the decision. So let's meet our account manager. He's married, 3 children, has a house, a dog. He likes to combine family life with sports, and he's a likable guy. His main role within the Rabobank is to provide clients with credit loans, maintain a client portfolio, so he needs to revise that periodically, and he needs to prevent clients from bankruptcy. His main clients are small and medium-sized enterprises, and of course mainly farmers in the Netherlands. So this is a brief introduction of the account manager that needs to make daily decisions. Let's skip to the actual value of information. Like I said, it's the amount a decision maker is willing to pay for information prior to a decision. I've devised a little example just to make you aware of the actual complexity of this simple sentence. If I need to decide on a holiday activity and I need information like what will the weather be like or what activities are available to choose from, I have several settings. I can have perfect information, which costs me $100 or euros, and which will deliver me a happiness of 150. So if I have perfect information about the weather, if I have perfect information about the activities that I can choose from, the likelihood that I will choose the right one is very high. It's 100%, but I will be modestly happy because it's cost me 100, so it delivers me 50. So if I have semi-perfect information, there are all kinds of extra skills, of course, but it's just for the example. I need to pay half as much for 50% of the likelihood of the weather. So I'm only 50% sure what the weather will be like. I only have 50%, half of the available activities up front as information. Sorry. That means I have a 50% chance, or even less maybe, of getting it right. If I get it right, the payoff is a bit higher. So I will probably be more happy. But if I get it wrong, I've paid 50 and probably be very unhappy with the result. So the last situation is, say I just don't pay for this information. Maybe I hear from someone, yeah, it might be raining tomorrow, but actually I'm not sure at all. Maybe 10% sure because of my intuition or something. Can look at the sky, of course, but I'm not sure. I also am not sure what activities I can do. If I'm successful, I will be exquisitely happy because I have a value of 140. If I'm not right, which will be very likely, well, I've been modestly disappointed because I can actually blame myself for not buying the information. So this gives you a very simple idea of what information can do for day-to-day simple choices. If you transport that to economics, to a business context, then you're talking about information economics. And information economics you can find more about on Wikipedia, and there you have all kinds of extra literature about it. It is, of course, related to processes and operational excellence. Operations research is a part of it. Decision theory is a part of it. Measurement science. And it all is focused on, okay, how can I get economic value from information? And that's why I'm talking about the value of information as an important concept to start thinking about. Okay, let's go back to our account manager and just introduce him a bit more. Which important decisions now does Frank need to make every day? So at the start of his day, he needs to know, okay, which clients to serve or to visit today, which revision tasks does he need to do, and maybe some clients need urgent attention. What information does he need to make those adequate choices? Maybe a list of clients in his calendar, a work list of revision tasks, or information to determine the right priority so they can choose in which order he might execute these tasks. And how much actually is Rabobank willing to pay for Frank to have this right information at the right time? Well, Rabobank does a lot, of course, but one of the important things, it empowers trust and judgment of its own employees. So it provides training, education, dashboarding, all kinds of facts and figures, tools that can be used for planning. It stresses also a bit of more, well, like striking a balance between commercial efficiency and risk, not only in the interest of the client, but also in the interest of the bank. And that's all kind of information that Frank can use when he chooses to fill in his day. We will get back to that in a minute, because all this background that Frank actually has when he needs to make a decision is actually called intelligence. But what is intelligence? It is the ability to perceive or infer information, to retain it as knowledge, to be applied towards adaptive behaviors within an environment or context. Pooh, it's a very difficult sentence, and to make it even more difficult, abstraction, logic, understanding, self-awareness, learning, emotional knowledge, reasoning, planning, creativity, etc., etc. Intelligence is a very broad concept. I've tried to picture intelligence in this flow because it's also a sort of a continuous thing. If you would say intelligence is the combination of experience, skill, attitude, and knowledge, like the knowledge is then the accumulated information, then you would say, okay, how do I get to a more like data-driven form of intelligence? What can I do to act and decide more correctly or more effectively? Well, if we talk about those facts that Dow data scientists and the big data community stress, then a fact is actually an event or a circumstance whose reality is certain because it can be perceived and measured instrumentally. If that's the case, then you can store it. You can store it maybe in a database digitally. We can also store it in books, and most facts still are stored in human brains, but people don't realize that. We think the internet holds all our facts because it has so vast amount of data, but actually the opposite is true. Most facts or most data is still stored in the brains of humans. And if you apply this definition, it's not easy to actually say that something is actually a fact. But that said, from those facts, from those data concepts, we can extract information. And it's actually the processing, organizing of that data, structuring of that data. But more technically, it's also because you want to reduce your uncertainty. In the choice example that I gave is how much uncertainty do you want to introduce when choosing a holiday activity? What's some people need less uncertainty, others can deal with more uncertainty. It's also very depending on the people that are looking and are dealing with the data. So information has also different meanings in different contexts and is subjective to experience, skills, and attitude. So in that sense, information is something completely different from data. I think that's the thing that we need to understand. If you combine this information, act and decide again, you build up knowledge and actually use all the intelligence that you have at your disposal. So in practice, what kind of intelligence is available? So if Frank, our account manager, needs to have some support, some intelligence to make his daily decisions, what does he have? These are examples, of course. There are lots more available, but it's already complex enough. But he has his personality. He's a family man. He's a team player who wants to win, and fairness is one of his most important traits. Job description, he knows what's expected from him. He is first responsible for all his clients. He needs to be a knowledgeable advisor, and he needs to be decisive. So he needs to he often needs to decide on things. He has all kinds of client domain knowledge, market share, conversion rates, churn rates, what we call client branch knowledge, like we have all these reports and researches and regulation documents and sites that are available for him to understand what is actually happening in the branch of his clients. He also knows what market shares the Rabobank has in this branch, and he also knows what the conversion rates are for clients getting new credits, what the churn rates are, and also the bankruptcy rates. Our CRM system might deliver him all kinds of information on his customers. Then we have like the latest news about what's happening, his prioritized work list, his current calendar, his predictive, prescriptive information from machine learning algorithms that might signal something to that as important or to pick up. And in the end, he also has management culture, company goals. Cooperation is an important feature of Rabobank. We are a cooperative bank, so that's a culture issue. He might believe in growing a better world. That's important for him. And okay, farming is our core business. These kinds of intelligence you can actually rate on not only rational, like objective intelligence, it's also very emotional. So I try to make a sort of a scale here for you to get an idea which part actually stresses more on the emotional side of people, which part stresses more on the rational side. So facts and figures and all these systems, work lists, job descriptions, all these things are more rational. They are objectively visible, they can be touched, or they are computed. And so you have more of the rational side of your information available. Other things are emotional. It's a kind of an emotional intelligence. As a account manager, he needs to have a lot of emotional intelligence because he's talking to other people. So he needs to have a sort of an intuitive intelligence to be able to use all these, well, information sources to be able to make the right decisions. This is actually my message here is intelligence, and is far more than having data or big data in systems with algorithms processing them. It's always the human that's actually interpreting things and doing something with it. And this human has the conflict between his emotions and his ration. Okay, then how to decide based on all this intelligence? Because it can be a lot, of course. So if you look at intelligent decision making, there are all kinds of structures and processes that you can follow. Roughly speaking, it's good to have an idea of what the problem is that you want to decide on. Not every day or every time it's absolutely clear, but if you have a choice to make, it's often good to have specific objectives, to know a bit about, okay, if I choose A, this will be the consequence. If I choose B, then that will be the consequence. Maybe I want to know a bit about my risk tolerance and also how much uncertainty I want to have, or I find acceptable. It's good to think of alternatives. What if I choose something completely different, or are there actual alternatives? Are they linked to each other? So are multiple decisions, well, maybe in a dependency chain? If I choose this, then that happens, then I need to choose that, etc., like a process. And also, it's good to have an idea on the effect of your decision. So if you want to actually learn, so if you want to make it intelligent and you want to learn from it, you need to measure the result and learn from the result to improve your next decision. And then back to Frank. He has a lot to weigh in his daily decision tasks. So his question is, like, which clients to serve today? So what I've listed here is to make a fictive example, of course, but I have subjective, emotional things that I can use, and I have more rational things. And I'm now just looking at a start of the day, and I will show his schedule. His workday starts at 8:30. It ends at 5. It's just a classical workday. Some things are already planned in his agenda. He has some free spots, but overall, he says he has a catch-up meeting with his team, a grow appointment with the manager to learn. We call that within Rabobank your more your performance talk, or how can I, which education should I follow? How can I perform better, etc. He has 2 appointments with potential clients, and those things he knows how much time it will cost him. What he also sees is that he has a work list with a couple of revisions that need approval. He needs 2 credit approvals to determine and to give, or to deny, and also 2 new offers to finalize. Then when he checks his voicemail at 8 o'clock, he has a request from a client in distress that's on the verge of bankruptcy. He knows that if he wants to call this client, it will cost him 60 minutes. He sees all kinds of ratings from the dashboards. He sees that 5% is overdue credit, that his bank has 5% overdue credit ratings. Actually, the norm is 2%. So he thinks, that's not good. Maybe you should pay attention to that. He's also seeing some negative sides on the market share. So actually, we need new customers. Interest rates are going down, so that's not good for the profit of the bank. Still in his job, it's a fictive example, of course. He gets a commission for every sale he makes, and there is some branch highlighting news popping up on the screen that says that potential bankruptcy of livestock farmers is threatened by mega stables that are coming to the Netherlands to actually take over their business. On the other side, he has this emotional, baggage that he can use. And he say, yeah, I believe in growing a better world. I feel responsible for all my clients. It is important to socialize and listen to the other colleagues. I prefer winning as in closing new deals. And it's also not fair for farmers to go bankrupt due to these mega stables. So his fairness is also playing along a bit. Well, what is his choice here? What's his choice problem, actually? Well, based on his schedule, at the beginning, he has 190 minutes of free time left. And he needs to choose from not planned activities, which take 240 minutes. You see, this is a very day-to-day operational decision that he needs to make. So he's faced with a choice. He needs to say no to 60 minutes of requested time. And I purposely wrote this down a bit more general. But in the end, it comes down to, okay, which clients should I serve then? Should I reschedule already made appointments? Should I skip some revision tasks? Maybe postpone the urgent need for the client that is on the verge of bankruptcy to tomorrow? And here you see the conflict between his emotions and between all the data facts that he might have that lead him in the end to make a choice. For each one of us, this choice might be different. It's also important maybe that he has a good manager, that now at this point of time that he really gets into conflict, that he can say, he calls his manager and says, okay, can you help me? Because I'm in conflict. It's not fair that farmers go bankrupt. So I need to call this client. But yeah, I know there are 2 new offers to be finalized, or I know the credit rating is, we have too much overdue credit rating. So maybe I should focus on those and leave the 2 new offers for what they are. Or maybe I can skip the team catch-up meeting, but it is important to socialize. So here you see both forms of intelligence, because this is all information and intelligence that he's using, focused on a few simple decisions. So how much is he willing to invest to actually make a choice? That really depends on the amount of uncertainty that he's willing to accept, the consequence in this case. If he chooses one, what will be the consequence when he chooses another thing? So in the end, the message here is just having data, just having big data, just having data scientists that can automate a lot of things for you doesn't make the decision more easy, because his machine learning algorithm could have said, just visit the new clients because we need new market shares. So it's not that easy. So I hope this gives you an idea about the value of information and why it's so important to actually start looking more at information as a concept instead of only data. So I'm already in my wrap up. That means that I've taught you or tried to convey the concept of the fact that information is not the same as data. So I hope you will start looking at this as another process of actually giving meaning to data that actually needs to be managed. If you're not already doing that, of course. Data versus information management. We are now focusing a lot on data management, doing a good job, but information management is almost not visible. And for information management, the same holds as for data management. You need acquisition, you need custodianship, you need distribution, you need disposal. to make intelligent decisions, I've tried to show you the loop and the complexity of what it actually means to decide. How much intuition do you use? How much objective facts are there available for you to actually choose from? And in the end, emotions, experience, trust are very important in the day-to-day decisions that we make. Even if we automate 99% of our processes or everything goes digitally, I think just by doing that, emotions and experience and trust become even more important. What's your actual driver? Is it fairness? Are these algorithms all fair that give you all this information? Is booking.com fair when you book a room? Not sure. So, and in the end, it's all about the value of information. So how much are you willing to pay for the right information at the right time? Guess I'm good within the limits of time. So for me, that was my story. I hope you have some questions.
Fantastic, Frank. What an important topic to draw awareness to and discuss. So as you highlighted very well, let me bring my camera up here. As you highlighted very well, there is so much in the age of big data and data science and management and structures and ownership and governance, and not enough is talked about in terms of the information, and that really is key to decision making. So since you have looked at this topic with greater depth than most have, what do you think, if an organization is doing a better job at this than most, what are some of the processes or methods that or approaches that they may have in developed internally to start tackling this challenge?
I think one of the important things that you could start with is more objectively documenting different decisions. So what are the actual important operational decisions that are taken every day, instead of implementing a complete process chain at once? Within that process are a lot of micro decisions. We have the data, like I'm an expert in process mining, so you can use technologies like process mining to uncover all these simple, between brackets, decisions that are made during all these operational cycles. Try to get grip on what the essentials are of those decisions and what our actual information needs around those decisions. We are doing that when we are thinking about technology. So when we want to automate or digitize certain parts of processes for efficiency reasons or speed, but it's then also framed within the capacity of the technology. Say, for example, we could think a little bit further in time, and we understand a certain decision we need to make, and we can use quantum computing. What would the benefit be? Just not think only in the frame of current internet technology that is in our disposal. So let's try to transcend that what you're used to, and document your decisions a bit structurally. Then build upon those information needs. Try to get a system around that. Maybe it's a bit of business rules management, but this is of a higher level. Clear?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You remind me of some of the things that Ray Dalio has done at Bridgewater Financials. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the work that he has done on decision making, where there's a very structured approach for weighing the facts and people's opinions about the facts. And because as you highlighted in your presentation, decision for those who are not experienced in this field, they're somewhat naive to think that collecting the right data is enough. But decision making is actually intrinsically, neuroscience has shown us that certainly in the last decade, for a lot of experimentation, the decision making is fundamentally an emotional process, not a rational process. And how do you balance? And it's not even a balance. It's like, how do you blend rational decision making with emotional decision making in organizations? Do you have any suggestions for that?
Yes, every time that you implement more data facts from your systems, implement them with the actual people that do the work. Let them experience the advantage of the simple addition of a data fact. We have all kinds of agile teams, for example, that have backlogs. And if you just can analyze the effect of what they're doing and just give it back to them in a simple form, like, okay, the next sprint, based on this analysis that we did, you should do this, and then see what the effect is. So keep it smaller and let the individuals experience the benefit of having more measures and more objective facts. Like I'm not showing it, but I'm wearing an Apple Watch, for example. It measures all the time all kinds of things, and then gradually it shows me as an individual what I can do with it, and I'm starting to trust it, and I'm starting to build on it, and I think, oh, can't do without it anymore. And then it gradually augments your emotions or changes them even, and gradually also changes your decisions. So it's I think this getting people into a more data-driven mindset starts actually with the individuals in the operations, and not from top down that say you need to base your decisions on more facts, because that is not working.
Those are great insights. I'm looking at the feedback from the audience and the questions coming in from the audience. Joseph Lackey, who is attending from Florida today, says that awesome presentation. I had a choice between attending an international board conference or a trade show, and I chose the trade show because the vendor's data seemed more critical from a future thinking standpoint to interconnect for director leadership going forward to steer management teams. So he's talking about, I think the insight here in his commentary is that sometimes one data point, or maybe perspective, if you will, leads all of our decision making. This leads to another interesting question that I have seen come up in the commentary, is that decision making is very complex. I mean, even on the holiday example you just showed a couple of things that we can weigh, and usually businesses and systems are very complex. You're trying to weigh all these different things, and the human brain is an awful machine when it comes to weighing multiple factors. So what are some suggestions you have for, I'm going to ask the first question and then I'll have a follow-up on that, but as individual decision making, when you have to weigh multiple factors, what are some suggestions you have for professionals for better decision making? What should they do when confronting with complex decisions with multiple factors? How should they approach a scenario like that?
Okay, if you're a junior, trust in your seniors. So investing in people in this for this is very important. So as an organization, you need to know that your experienced employees can help your juniors in trusting their decisions. That means, but if you are more experienced and you're confronted with a new situations, like we have all these ethics, like who to finance, who not to finance, and seek try to challenge yourself not to decide immediately, but also you have a sort of like, if you're buying a house, you can't weigh all the things objectively. Sometimes you just feel what the right choice is, and trust in that. That's also, if you need to have like a compliance officer looking along, involve those. If you think an extra set of eyes could help, always use them. But you build up the better decisions by doing. So deciding, making an error, and deciding again. And if your company, I think Rabobank does that very well, fosters a culture of making these mistakes well controlled, then you learn even faster and you start trusting your decisions even better. And so, and if you're correct, this is a very complex area, and most decisions are more based still on intuition and emotions than on objective facts. So that means that trusting in your employees, trusting in yourself, that you're able to make the right decisions is very important.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
This is such a rich topic, Frank, because as you're saying there, you know, so much of what we do is intuition, and then we have this other side that we try to be more objective about decisions. So we bring the data in, and sometimes that may help or may not help if the quality of the data is not right. And you talked about this. Big data, for example, has led to many very poor solutions because data, apart from its context, is meaningless. And a lot of times, if you don't engage the right people, if you don't understand the context, you can have all the data in the world. It's not going to help you make the right decision. And you talked very clearly about this on your presentation. And by the way, the data apart from its context is meaningless. It's a quote from Walter Shewhart in 1932. So it's like, this is nothing new, right? It's like,
No.
Data science has been around for quite some time. I asked a question about individual decision making, which is already complex. Now let's throw another level of complexity, that a lot of our decisions are not individual decisions, they are collaborative decision making. Now we have to make a team-based type of decision on what to do. What are some of the challenges and maybe some of the approaches that we can use for better collaborative decision making?
Like I showed in the steps you can take for intelligent decision making, a structure always helps when you have more of a team effort. Look at agile teams nowadays. They not only rely on what the product owner tells them to do, they feed the product owner with their visions. When they refine stories, they learn from each other what are more important things, but they always have a sort of a structure. Like we have, what drives us is a certain set of goals. So if we have that as a focus point, we can start aligning the choices with those goals. Having a situation where most businesses don't have situations where they don't have goals, only if you are really innovative and just trying to come up with something completely new. But usually you gather around a goal. You first get the team to embrace that one or two goals. Decisions, priority decisions, are most of the decisions that they need to make, come up. And as a team, you actually learn. We document our decisions, like in the sense, okay, what we did now was choose based on the value of this business has efficiency value, and the other business has risk mitigation value. Okay, what did we find important in this case? Was it the largest shouter, or was it the fact that it was actually quantified? That we find the quantification more important. In that sense, if you highlight your choice criteria, you learn which team member finds which criteria more important. It's like the fairness. If I'm a personality that finds fairness more important than just profit, I will always choose a little bit differently. So if you take, to summarize, if you take a structured approach, so frame the problem that the decision needs to be about. Is it, if it's about priority, you need some priority criteria. Are there any alternatives? So you can use those guidelines, those structures. But the main advice is give yourself time to learn. If you do pokering in an agile session, it's all about getting to know what it means if someone gives 5 points. It's not always objective. So if you do that a couple of times together, and you also document a little bit what the criteria are that someone uses, and you learn as a team and you get better in team decisions. Clear?
Frank, that's fantastic. Many other questions came up related to decision-making for innovation, decision-making for different industries. Unfortunately, we don't have time to address all of these questions now, but I'm going to ask the audience to just post that on LinkedIn under our conference posting. You can find that under my name. Frank and others who would be able to access that. If you want Frank to answer, please tag him on your question. And that's one way that we can continue the conversation. I want to thank you, Frank, very much for addressing this very important topic and sharing your expertise with our global audience today.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Frank. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Frank Van Geffen, directly from the Netherlands. He is a business intelligence translator for data and analytics at Rabobank. And what a fascinating review and focus on this important topic of intelligence for decision making. Data is not enough. We must have the right information, and information for the right intelligence, which is incredibly complex and very important to highlight the concepts that he did for all of us. We're going to be taking a break now, and when we come back, we're going to go from the Netherlands to Canada, and we're going to bring you one of the global experts on artificial intelligence, and not the concept of artificial intelligence, but on the applications of artificial intelligence across industries. And the session is going to be led by Bill Wong, who is the artificial intelligence and data analytics leader at Dell Technologies, directly from beautiful Toronto in Canada. He's going to talk about AI-powered digital transformation. So please take a break now. I will see you back at the top of the hour with Bill Wong.